I just wanted to also welcome them for coming, for their purpose of coming to the planners symposium. When I was back in Hawaii, uh, Lieutenant Colonel Marshall was letting me know that he was coming out for the symposium. So they're going to be making some presentations at the symposium. They're going to be working very closely with also our planners and, our environmental people, watershed, floods, all those kinds of projects and plans. So I just want to, again, thank you for coming. And you might want to introduce yourselves and then we'll go around and introduce ourselves. So,
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the introduction and chance to talk on this topic. But this really speaks to the people. In the Corps of Engineers, there's nothing more complicated or more important than the hospitals. I mean, because you can have an immediate impact on the very big way. But hospitals are challenging. And the good news about Guam Hospital is for the forest protectors, we've been somewhat involved with this hospital, maybe peripherally, for a fair amount of time. And so, in my short tenure, I took over last June. We met soon thereafter virtually, and heard about the assessment we did in 2019. And then with the alternate care facility project that we had in October, November, I was getting daily updates on the progress of this construction. So it's really special to be here. When you came and mentioned the importance of the new hospital planning that's going on Focus Community, and we immediately did a little bit of homework to try to see how this can support. So I'm happy to be able to present that later. Because it is kind of a culmination, it feels like a lot of prep work. Don was one of the people on our team that's been here throughout working with Guam Memorial Hospital for a really, really long time. And he pointed out to me that we are having this meeting today because of the relationships that were established years ago. And that's just really, really special to be a part of it now. So I won't go on for that. One point of clarification for Rhiannon as well. She's our chief of civil works, but also international and interagency services.
Oh, nice.
So that's a different program area that will actually be the authority under which we can support government law in any kind of work on the law. So that's why she's here. All right, Dr.
I'm Don Slack. I arrived here in 2019, which was right before COVID.
Yeah.
So we're able to finish up the report and go to spring of COVID. I'm surprised it didn't get home by every year.
Today, I'm Rhiannon Kucharski. Very nice to meet you. I joined Honolulu District in May of 2020, and I've been with the Corps of Engineers for about 12 years. And our key mission is really to serve, right, the communities that we serve. And so I'm really excited to be here to meet all of you. This is my first time to Guam. So I have really just loved it so far. It's so beautiful. The people are so amazing and welcoming. So I'm here to learn, and I want to figure out how we can best serve you and help going forward. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm I'm the Director of Public Health and Social Services. I know Lieutenant Michael, I'm kind of a sidebar. I know the focus is heavily on the hospital, but I'm also interested to see how we can partner with you to endeavor of public health and public health and social services. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Vera President of the City Department of Defense. I'm currently working with Guam Economic Development Authority on a local action plan, which will provide an update to the 2012 medical service delivery plan, and working with GMA as well, but also working with Joint Region Marianas and DOD to look at the nexus to the growth, long-term growth in the hospital, and looking at a partnership in that.
Hi, happy day. I'm John Calvert, your staff. Nice to meet you, and of course, welcome to Guam. And of course, Mr. Marshall, thanks for making the trek out here. It's nice to see you again after being in the Good morning, Governor. Good. My name is Jeffrey Ventura, Hospital Chief Planner. Been with GMH for 7 years now. Had the pleasure of working with you on the one assessment and also the expanded mechanical and electrical capabilities being imported. Looking forward to building this new medical.
I am Dr. Mary Vidal, I'm the medical officer and helping our government try to decide what kind of clinical services that serve our whole population, in terms of the hospital.
Morning, Governor. Good morning, everyone. My name is William Campbell. I'm the Associate Administrative Operations. I had the pleasure of being a big part of that assessment and forging that relationship with the Army Corps. It was really a pleasure to work with them. And so I was very happy to hear the Governor was working to bring you folks back to help us. That's very exciting, and I really look forward to working with you going forward.
I'm the hospital administrator, I'm just really ecstatic, just excited that you are here, and Donna to come back to help us with this, vision that the government wants behind this. So, we're excited, we've been meeting our internal task force on a regular basis to craft and to design this hospital that we vision, and we're just so excited. And on behalf of the board of trustees and the employees and the rest of management, we're just very, very thankful to work here with us and that, we bring with us, we bring with you blessings and joy for our new hospital. So, I'm very thankful. We have some members also on the group. We also have other directors.
Yeah, why don't we go around here, please? My apologies. Welcome, Teresa Ariola, the Director of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Lieutenant Colonel Governor, and ladies. Tim Muggins, Director of Veterans Affairs. 1 year before COVID was hit in 2019, I was in your office in Honolulu with the Lieutenant Governor and Gura to sit down and talk about some of the mitigation efforts here on Guam. Welcome to Guam.
Good morning, Governor. To our all final guests, welcome. I am Ariola, Director of the Department of Public Works. And if I may say so, Governor, I am living proof that this hospital provides excellent quality care.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Borja. I'm the Director of the Department of Land Management. We have been working with Army Corps of Engineers of Honolulu on a couple of projects on the floodplains project and also Area 101. And I brought my proof of work with the Army Corps of Engineers. Ask you for some assistance to this study.
Today, buenas Governor, buenas for my name is Jack Patrick III, and I'm the Governor's Special Assistant for Capital Improvement Projects. I'm working together and coordinating with the various directors that you see here on the second and end project. Thank you.
Okay, and we also have people that join us on Zoom. Josh, you want to start off with introducing yourself and the others?
Right. Well, I did meet the team yesterday, so I will defer to the excellent staff and managers of GMH. And I'll pass it first to Bell.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Val Rada, Assistant Administrator Professional Support. We are in charge of respiratory, laboratory, radiology, special services, and so much more. Welcome.
Yuka?
Hi, good morning. My name is Yuka Hechanova. I'm the Chief Financial Officer here at the Guam Memorial Hospital.
Paula?
Hi, good morning. My name is Paula Manzan. I'm the Clinical Nurse Informatics Supervisor here at Guam Memorial Hospital.
Hi, half a day, everybody. My name is Christine Takaro. I'm the Administrator of Nursing Services. Nursing Division oversees 12 nursing units serving all patient populations.
Okay, Alice?
Half a day. My name is Alice Tyhern, Deputy Chief of Staff to the Governor and Lieutenant Governor of Guam. Thank you.
Okay, Tyrone?
Good morning. I'm Tyrone Titano, Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans.
Okay, Steph?
Yes, good morning. My name is Stephanie Flores. I'm the director of the Guam State Clearinghouse.
Okay, Zoe?
I just want to also introduce Dr. Jolene Hoffman. She is our Associate Administrator of Clinical Services, as well as Assistant Administrator to Medical Services. She's right now doing a
Let's see this right there. Okay, all right.
Half a day. I'm listening in.
She's scheduled to go to bronchoscopy, so that's right. She's going to
Okay.
And,
All right, so Lieutenant Colonel, as you can see, these are the major key stakeholders, not just for the planning and the construction of the hospital, but where we want to be situated, we're calling it our medical second number. We call it second number in Chamorro, and what that means is a place of healing. And what we are envisioning to have in that place is, of course, hospital, which would be acute care. Then we have public health, which would be the preventive care of the whole healthcare scheme. And then, of course, we have behavioral health and wellness, which is the mental health portion of an individual's comprehensive delivery of services. And then we are also very excited to have the veterans. And as I had explained to you, one of the visions is to have the veterans clinic there, so that if the veteran needed to have acute care, the hospital's right there. If the veteran needed to have, mental health services, behavioral health is there. And then, of course, preventive always there. Then, of course, you have BIMS, which is much more from the public works side. Joe Borja there is very key because he's the one that's been working very closely with the military for the release of the 102 acres of real estate up there in Eaglesville. And of course, Vera is also very instrumental in working with the JRM people to get it going. She puts Commander Perry, these two put Commander Perry on task. And Commander Perry is in charge of real estate here in the military. So previously, the previous Secretary of the Navy had already signed a commitment for the Navy to release this 102 102 acres of real estate to the government for the purpose of building this medical complex. So that's the basic foundation of what we want to do. And I just also want to thank you for the great assessment that the Army Corps of Engineers did in 2019. And as a result of their work, we were able to make some very, I think, very targeted decisions about what to do with the hospital. And the board, and of course, Lillian's team had recommended that we build a new hospital. And then we went out and started searching for a place and so forth. And the property that we wanted to be situated in is in the central part of the island. So that's the basic. I also just wanted to let our key stakeholders here know that when I went to Hawaii just less than a month ago, I did meet with General Gibbs, who's the head of the Army Corps of Engineers, and of course, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Marshall was there, and a few other people that were also very significant to the team. And I had asked if they would construct the hospital, they did inform me that it would be very expensive to do that because they do not have the logistics, the manpower. They would have to stage all of that from the very beginning. So I asked, well, would you be able to help us in any way? And Lieutenant Colonel Eric Marshall started talking about the possibility of offering planning, the possibility of offering oversight and project management, which is, very essential. So I think to the success of a very realistic, practical, and very appropriate hospital and medical complex. So I was really excited about that, and he's also talking about doing a planning charrette. And that means we sit down, his team sits down with our team, and we just talk about what our vision is. What is it that we want? What is it that we need? What is it that we think is going to provide quality service to our people? And then they start planning that out with them. So, and when they offered that, you can't imagine the relief of stress on my part because I've never gone to hospital before, and it's pretty scary. It's scary because, first I want to know what the resources are out there. How can we use the resources out there? And even General Gibbs was very supportive, and the guy was sitting next to me. Yes, he was also he's been out there. Guam. So I just want to thank and appreciate all that, and maybe you might want to start about what you think we should start. How do we start with doing it?
All right, well, thanks, man. Well, yes, you said everything that I really know for sure at this moment, but what I really benefit from my visit here is to learn what the task force has done so far. So as the governor explained, the Corps is really good at planning. That's something that I think is probably one of our best value propositions. A lot of what the Corps gets brought into, because we are expensive, we normally don't get brought in unless it's big and challenging and controversial. So what we feel like one of the things we do really well is to bring the various stakeholders together that may or may not be conflicting with each other, and we can arrive at a solution that can scope a project. So I feel like that is Rhiannon, this is her depth in civil works, and we think that same kind of model can play out for hospitals. We've done it many times before. Admittedly, the Honolulu district, we don't have a lot of recent experience building a large hospital like this, but we have those clinics, and we can pull from the center of expertise in the Corps. So the Corps, is a 35,000 person agency in the federal government. We have the Research and Development Center in Pittsburgh. That's in Huntsville. We have our Center of Expertise for medical facilities. And we're also dovetailed with all of the other components within the federal government, like the Veterans Affairs, the Health Facilities Planning Agency, the Defense Health Agency. So what we do, again, is bring in a planning stage, bring all of those folks together to help with the charrette, to really scope what would eventually become the design of the hospital. Now, as I talk about charrette, it sounds kind of pretentious because I don't know what the task force has done so far. Maybe you're halfway down the road there, or even all the way complete. If it's okay, I was hearing from the room or somebody describe what the task force has accomplished so far.
Sure. All right, thank you. What you have with you presented a rough sketch, of what our internal task force is in hospital. At the same time, as sharing it with the steering committee and the coordinating team. But for our part of the Sabbath, remember the hospital that we're charged with. So how we envision that hospital, the goals are there. So how we envision that hospital is either 250 to 300 acute care beds, and we're looking at single beds. Especially given with this COVID pandemic, we've discovered and we've learned that you're a patient into a semi-private room, and once you find out that they're not contagious and COVID disease, you go, oh,
You know, you should put the patient in a single room to, protect others from getting that disease. And so that's why we decided that a single room per patient really would be best practice to make it available. And so we're looking at either 250 to 300 bed. I was using the WHO mandate in terms of how to determine the number of beds per population. And so what they recommend or what they mandate is 2 beds per 1,000 population. So that's kind of what we're basing our decision on, 250, 300, but forging ahead, because, this hospital is going to have maybe 5, 6 years to build. By that time, our population probably will increase, and who knows what other communicable disease may come or out of it. So we're preparing for that, as well as, we're also incorporating some rooms for the veterans, so that they have, space where they need to be admitted into education facility. So that's what we're looking at, and how we envision this hospital. Because of the limitation in height in that location, 2-story above ground is what we're looking at, and possibly 1 or 2 stories underground to really maximize the land. And so, but I'm told that underground could be more costly.
So they were saying, the military was telling us that there's a radar there for the weather, that they cannot be hindered, right? But now, and they said 3 stories, but now they come back and said 6 stories.
65.
65 feet. And then I'm hearing murmurs that maybe they will leave, but we don't know that.
Sounds
But-
like even relocation considered on the budget, but relocating the radar.
They did mention something.
And because we have an elevator, we need to count that shaft as another level. And so that's why if we do budget, we can go higher than that would be great. And so we're not spread out, but, we're out.
Can I just clarify that last one? If I understood you right, you're looking at your population today plus 5? Is that
5
correct?
years,
Plus
5 years from now.
Okay, so one of the standards that we do is typically look out 30 to 50 years. Do you have population projections? Do you think out further that are available?
Ties on the line.
But that's a very good point, because, we're also looking to make sure that we have this hospital for the next 2, 3 years. So yes, we have to project towards that.
Right.
So that is very important.
Right, we're building for future generations.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay, so my second clarifying question, do you know if that land is in the floodplain?
Flood zone?
Yes.
Do you know, Joe?
No, it's not.
It's not. I love that answer. That's awesome. Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
we were told a preliminary that the soil is clay.
Yeah, the phone is quite full. It's not like so.
But then underground, if it's 2 levels, then it's more costly versus one. But again, these are not the winter, factors, but we're looking at that. And so how best that the engineers and their expertise with this guy, that's not an expert in engineering. So, but we want to make sure we have a chapel that is prepared around. We also want to make sure we have a long-term care. We've seen quite a bit of individuals who are here on a ventilator, but when we're needing to keep their bed. So in a subacute level, we don't have that available. So that's something that we want to make sure is available. In addition to the long-term care facility, skilled nursing facility that we need to continue to provide. The governor has mentioned about, the veterans clinic. So we were thinking in our internal task force that perhaps not within the special hospital, but a building adjacent to it. So there's that connection, an enclosed walk bridge. We have the veterans clinic, other outpatient clinics such as cardiac, follow-up, pulmonary. We have those kinds of clinics that we can have in that building adjacent to the hospital. There's a discussion on a population that we want to try and include in the second network.
So this is the, develop the, disability.
Services for disability. Yeah. Right now, they really are in a very small location, so it could be under GMA or public health.
Yeah, we're thinking mainly public health, right? Or, yeah.
Right. Okay, of course, we need to have a more, and the CME more right now, but she went for example more uses part of the hospital and it's close to the emergency room, which fits because if any foreigners pays, you know, the woman needs to get termination pronouncement, if they are expired, then they're taking them to CME more, or if they need to have forensic care, complex care. I mean, we don't want to leave them homeless. So including them in our plan to have the next one there. We need to have a really room, and also about the shop. I think ladies and good gentlemen, they work so hard to help the hospital, so we want to make sure that we do have a plan for our facility. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask one question also, because I think the population or the services that we don't really know in the future is the military services, and not necessarily the mission forces, but their dependents, and also the redesign of the DoD healthcare system. Because there are plenty of places where the DoD healthcare system mixes in with the population and they share services. Yeah. As opposed to just their mission ready forces that might be different services. So I think that is a sort of and I'm not sure in terms of the Army Corps, if you guys participate in that military healthcare planning also, and whether you can give us ideas or not. So that was one of the areas that I know there's a military buildup coming, and along with them, they bring support staff and dependents, and sometimes their hospital is really limited to services that are just for maybe a smaller population. So I don't know if that adds to our population plan.
So you're right, we have.
So we met with them last Friday, the consultant that we hired to do the manufacturing plan, to request for all that information for the task force. So we're having that discussion on their planning efforts and their laydown, not just one, but in the region. To give us an idea, so we'll share that information.
So could I just for understanding, when we decided to build a hospital, then we started thinking about it being a medical care or medical care complex. We expanded that task force. So there is a task force, and it's called our healthcare task force. And in that are subunits for hospital, behavioral health, veterans, and so forth, right, public health. So each of those individuals, heads are also planning within their, entities, how they want to see what their needs are, just like, GMH is doing. But that health task force meets regularly. And that's where they include other units that we think are important to the whole structure, and that's we put finance committee in there. We put an architectural engineering committee in there. I don't know what else. It's we could probably get you that organization, but that's the overall healthcare complex planning committee. And then these are the various, so, specifically, of course, the hospital's going to be in stay there.
Presuming that we move forward with the charrette, I think that list of stakeholders, shortcut a lot of the work that we've done. We've done so much already. And yeah, just like to respond to what you said, great point about the reorganization of our health agency. Now we're the Defense Health Agency for the entire DoD. We don't really know how that. I mean, it's being deferred, I think, year to year, like the full rollout of the DHA and how it's really going to transform healthcare within the DoD. We don't know, so we definitely want to consult with them to answer your question. And we can do that for you, but it sounds like you got a consultant already asking this hard question.
Yeah, that's, OEA gave us $1 million grant to make this, to go out, and make this plan. So, they're almost at completion. I told them it has to be within 6 months, not a year. Yeah. They're on it, so. Yeah. Yeah, in terms of the inpatient medical, direct patient care, medical services, basically the traditional, medical services that are provided in the hospital. But we've also expanded it, based on feedback from the doctors and the providers, such as the MRI, such as a burn unit. Right now, we don't have a specific burn unit, but we want to make sure that we prepare for it. And so we're looking at the ICU, is what we use. For intake, we have patients who have burns, conditions, and conditions. We start them out in the ICU. And so right now we have a 14-bed ICU capacity, but we think that we probably need to expand that in the future. Again, the other area is the maternal child health unit, which we are the only hospital that provides that service to that population. And so the labor delivery, we're looking at the concept of LDR, because that's really the trend. The radiological procedure, diagnostic and interventional radiology, we want to make sure we have an MRI. Right now, we don't have an MRI, and we oftentimes have to transport them off premise, such as the Guam radiology or even up to GRMCs. We want to make sure that we have that MRI capability, especially for those individuals who are critically ill, ICU level, on a ventilator, and all kinds of medical attachments. We want to keep them here in this campus and not have to, transport them from this. Safer for them, for patients there. Wound care program on hyperbaric chamber is another medical service that we want to make sure is available. Cardiac cath suites in our OR. That we're looking to have 6 OR suites, right now we have 4, sometimes only 3. So I think 6 is reasonable to have, as a start. But we also need to have a procedure room, cardiac cath unit, suite there. The other thing that we added was a 4-bed acute inpatient area where we can secure it, allow it for individuals who have both acute medical conditions and underlying behavioral psychosocial conditions. Right now, we don't have that, and so, like that patients from that condition, so we have to, deploy staff to do one-on-one observation and sitting, just kind of like sitter for these patients, for these kinds of patients. I know that behavioral health, when we met on the box, they don't really have much of that service also. And so we kind of have to work together to see how best to meet those needs of those patients or individuals with both acute medical condition and psychosocial. In terms of our administration and operations, non-clinical, again, the traditional types of services that hospitals, need to have to ensure to support the clinical services. So these are basically what we, how we envision our hospital to be for people well. Any questions? We also manage the Department of Elections on-site clinic. Yes, it was a consent decree that was issued in from the 2016. So our staff, physicians and nurses are at the DOC site running and operating that clinic for the inmates for the population. Right, exactly. So that we can also then use that area for individuals such as the inmates.
I'm not sure if we would have it in one meeting or might be something like that in multiple meetings. Is there a flexibility would be special features in multiple units?
So yeah, then here your briefing just reiterates how I started, that there's nothing more complicated.
Yes, very complex.
Now, as you developed your vision with the task force, was it you have resource constraints and determine if all this will fit within the 105 acres.
Actually, Jordan gave us how many acres? Probably 130 acres.
48.
48
I do
acres.
have graphics available here. I'm not sure what the timeline is. Brings up, but we can, I have send a detail report on the situation out there. But we originally asked for 100 acres. And people are saying, well, why 100 acres? We actually took the footprint acreage here of this hospital and multiplied it by 4. And came out of it for about 16 acres per acre. And we provided room for improvement. One of the parameters of the government structured land master review was make sure that the parcel we get from the new area, excess land, whatever, is can allow for expansion. And we did that. So that's why we have 102 acres. But not only for the hospital, we also plan for public health. They're building right now with burnt out shell. They're operating all over the place, as well as the new CDC lab and the one behavioral people, so that they're in that area. But there is enough acreage, another hospital planner, but we multiplied the existing footprint they have in terms of acreage, as well as public health. We multiplied it by 4. Coming up here, the first thing I was going to say, open the door. Then you got to get a new hospital somewhere else, because I've been driving around. I've been driving around, but I don't want to use that. Oh yeah.
That's why you want to have a one-car parking to, surface parking or multi-story building parking.
Yeah, so one of the things that the healthcare, this reminded me when Joe was talking about the rest of the facilities, is that there was discussion in the healthcare task force to do things in phases. And one of the things that was also very urgent was public health. And the urgency with public health is that they have been budgeted to DOE's budget, $33 million for a public health laboratory. And so the funding is there, and I don't know if there's a time certain of when those monies are to be used. And so one of the thoughts is that, well, maybe we look at building public health first and get the public health laboratory going, because the thought with the public health laboratory is to share it with GMH also, so that we don't have to, duplicate services within that complex. And if we have to expand it or enhance it to be able to adjust to the needs of the hospital, certainly we'll do that. But there's already 33, right? Art, is it 33 million?
32.
Yeah, that's targeted already for public health. So that was one of the discussions, can we do it in phases or can we do it simultaneously? On the 2 facilities, that was much more of urgency is public health and TV. Behavioral health is right over here. But eventually we want to move behavioral health into that 102 acres. And I'll tell you though, if the military moves their radar, right, we'll certainly ask for that land too.
The other feature that we wanted to include in that annex for the outpatient clinic is because when it comes to typhoon, we bring in pregnant women to the facility. And so, when that clinic is for outpatient clinic services, so when all of that is suspended, you can use that facility for a different purpose, and that is to then house those pregnant women in that facility. And I think other purposes that, Dr. Behind we're talking about for different purposes.
Some of the connectivity, we don't have harsh winter, so, but again, on occasion we have typhoon events that we supplement. Right now, everybody just rushes into the building, but it might be useful if we stay there and you just deal with the one or two people who actually do the food services during the typhoon, but without exposing them to the elements. And again, although we don't have cold weather here, when it rains, it really rains, so sometimes there's walking from one day to another. Yeah. I'm trying to list it for the staff. I don't know. Sometimes, although whether or not it's really worth the added expense, that's always the issue.
So that kind of brings up the question I was gonna ask is, and that has thought been put into the redundancy stuff for facilities, or, you know, being considered all of this.
That's part of the OPR.
Yes. Everything that we have here, we operate with redundancy. Our emergency generators, medical gas system, everything that we have is redundant. And so we're gonna be working that into OPR and looking for advice from the engineers on how to do that. It's very important. Even we will have even an emergency management section within this OPR. And this is where the UCH also has expertise in responding to all hazards. We want that built into the OPR.
Speaking of redundancy, the land committee were also recommending and providing acreage for a electrical substation on site. Plus, we're requesting Guam Waterworks Authority to have three sources of water. One is the public water system, and then we provided acreage in the site for a on-site storage tank, and also give them the option of perhaps drilling for a production well on the property, and that's just to make sure we have water all the time in that area.
And then the technology piece, telecommunications, the way the government is even as having the OSAT, the Office of Technology on the campus as well, because they could be the technology hub, and the different facilities have direct connections to that funding. So, but everything will be underground.
And don't think it's in a flood zone now. The Office of Information Technology is in a flood zone.
I have another way for the conversation to go, but any questions from Don or Jen?
No, I mean, this is exactly what you do. Is really the planning that you do now will save a lot in design and construction. You need to ask the questions, especially working with the dogs.
Yeah.
To make sure that the configuration, orientation, working hard is going to work for them. And when you plan from that, because one of the things that kills hospitals is changes at the end of design or end of construction. There's medical is changing all the time, and you always want to have the best in ways. But just one of the things that kills these projects is to go very far along, then have to redesign because it delays your opening and increases costs. You can make those changes later if you plan to be able to make changes later. So planning is just much more fast.
So my goal with this is to have as less change orders as there are. You know, my goal would be no change orders, but of course, that's not very realistic because there is always change orders. But, you know, if you're right, Don, if you plan it out, if you measure it out, if your blueprint is to the point where if it says 3 inches over here, it's really 3 inches over here, because if it becomes 5 inches, then there's a change order. So, yeah, that's what I would like to have as least numbers of change orders as we can. And of course, like you said, that goes into how well you plan, how well you know what your needs are, and how well I think you work with everyone. So And the contractors is a very important thing too. Right? You want one that really knows it's 3 inches and not 3 meters. That is how yes.
Well, I think also, I mean, it's really what expertise and like you guys have a whole large resource, you know, basically a resource company.
Yeah.
That, because workflow is really, you know, again, it's changed a lot. And, you know, most large hospitals, even in the cities, are 20 to 30 years old, so their workflow has changed, but their business has changed. Right? So it's really that issue of how do we incorporate the more modern workflows, but we don't even know yet. We're operating in a 50-year-old facility, so our workflows are what they are.
Yeah.
And what they've always been, but we all know that there are, and, you know, we can ask ourselves those questions. At some point, we have to make decisions based on more modern workflows and hope that we can adapt to the more modern, or we're going to be stuck with the old workflows. So
Yeah.
I think where we get that expertise and where we ask for those, you know, in conjunction with what we can and can't do here. But, you know, again, in 5 years or 10 years from now, we maybe doing many of those things, or it gives us the opportunity to hope to be there, or really forces us to be there. So
Yeah.
really having the resources to say, hey, where can I see those workflows? I can't see them right now in my own facility. Where can I go and see that? But again, there's not that many brand new hospitals either. So it's, yes, I can go to, you know, this hospital is doing the best medical care workflow wise, operations wise, but they're still, they built their building 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's not applicable to building a facility to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how-
That is very key, because I remember, I don't know if you were there, Don, but when the Army Corps of Engineers did an exit meeting with us, and I forget who it was, but that really stuck in my mind, said, Governor, your hospital does not meet the current modern standard of practice, right? And he said, in order for us to get to the current modern standard of practice of healthcare, which changed within 50 years, we have to totally renovate the hospital, and that's why it's going to cost $763 million, right? For example, he gave the example of OR suite. Now surgeries are robotic, and they don't need to have a huge surgical suite, right? It's smaller, and you don't have to have so many people in the OR. And that was the example he gave of modernizing the hospital to meet the modern standard of practice in care. So that really stuck in my mind. So what Annie was just mentioning is so true.
I would say, Annie, we did National Congress, the Veterans Affairs Construction Mission, a few years back. And, for example, I was in Sacramento district at the time. We have built, as the core, hospitals, brand new, in particular for veterans and on military facilities. And then I think it's also good to look maybe even worldwide, you know, for inspiration. And actually, we also financial work, but we look for case studies, forward-thinking projects, and we're always challenging ourselves to think about, you know, 50 years from now, what is that going to look like, and how can we be ready to the best of our ability? We're not going to be able to create everything, but then also, you know, we put our dreams down, right? From the minimal dream to like the dream of owning a Maserati, right? And you know, a lot of times you come out with a Honda. The Hondas are really good, right?
Yeah.
They're practical.
Yeah,
right? And, right, and so the planning process is sort of beautiful in that evolution, right? You sort of look at many options, what you need, trying to look at today, plus the future. And then, like you said, you do have to make some decisions. And so I think managing expectations with your stakeholders, right? That we're probably not coming out of the end with the knowledge body. We're not gonna be able to predict everything, right? But we will, hopefully in the end, be able to provide a really great campus with facilities and services and some music, right, essentially, that can really help the community. So, I think this is important. In terms of the charrette, which is sort of our like major kickoff, that prep work of bringing that existing information, right, bringing this information, bringing vision, all of that is just so critical. And then sort of jumping off, right, from there and setting a timeline and making decisions.
We want to be done in an hour now.
Yeah.
So let me give you a quick pitch on what I've heard and how I feel like we can contribute, and then I'll ask Rhiannon to give you the, you want to be there for this on this. What I'm hearing, and I feel like we have so much more to learn. This task force is robust and the planning is really fantastic. So I think I need to learn more before we really scope the charrette. But I think one thing we can do in the core is we can help consult you on phasing for optimal values. That is very difficult to do. The phase your most critical functions first, based on what your needs are in the community, and support and grant money is available. So I think that's one thing we can do through the course of the charrette. Phasing. Secondly, I feel like we can help you validate your space requirements for the components that you listed here, for the workflow that you mentioned, Andy. I'm very attuned to what you're describing there, and projecting forward 50 years. I'm saying, what 5 years, maybe we can help with statistics, best practices, projecting forward 50 years on these components. Thirdly, I feel like something that the core does fairly well is we can help you with planning for redundancy in both utilities and land usage, and those are probably the big ones. There's probably more, but also an important word. I'm sure you're thinking about is resiliency. We don't know the effects of climate change. We don't know what the climate is going to do, but we want to scope into the design certain features that will allow this thing to last. And if the climate goes a different direction, then you can easily adapt to that. So that's something that we see as a core competency. And Don especially is really part of it. So we would take a life cycle perspective, not just the start the charrette, but not just thinking that our job at the end with the start of design or construction, but we see this through operation and maintenance as well. And then the fourth thing is a credible budgetary estimate. I know we haven't gotten to that today, but I hope that you can trust us. And this is something it's hard to do. It's hard to project the cost of something, especially in this climate with building costs are so ridiculous right now. But what we can help you is do that to the best degree possible, as well as accounting for your various funding sources. So I'm sure you have a lot of different types of colors of money that will help you with this project. That's what our charrette would also help you do. Is take those into account and give you a credible budgetary estimate. I just promised a lot there. Don, did I say anything that you disagree with? Okay, Brianna, can you tell them how this would actually flow, what we need, what they need to do if they want to bring us on board?
Sure. We can say tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
No. So I want to add one thing, because if Melanie was here, I want to chain our operations program manager. When we plan things, and I'm an economist, as one of my backgrounds in training, we not only think about your upfront costs, right, to construct, we really think about your costs through those 50 years to operate, maintain, repair, replace, and rehabilitate. A lot of times when you get into the private sector, they think just about the construction piece, not about the elements going in, how easy or not it is to get parts, how easy or not they will rust, how they will hold up to this humidity, these kind of things, right? Don has really schooled me on how important, that little upfront difference is in the long-term, repair replacement. So I just wanted to channel that for a moment. In terms of accessing us for help, we work at the pleasure of our local partners and communities and Congress. So we don't do anything by our own inspection. So the first step to us helping anyone is a letter of request, saying basically, Army Corps of Engineers, you have a unique skill set and a program that we would like to access because we need help for the following. And you explain the sense of urgency, the need, you know, and what exactly you're looking for. And that helps us, you know, send that up and say, okay, we've been engaged to potentially help. The right program likely for this is Interagency International Support Services. And under the Chiefs Economy Act in particular, which is a law that would allow us to help. That law says that we have to have federal funds involved in order for us to be able to help, and we have to be seen as uniquely qualified, or having some kind of special skill that we need. And so, under that, we would sign a memorandum of agreement, and there would need to be evidence from the other federal funds that they approve of those funds being used for our systems, basically. You know, usually just a simple letter from them will suffice. And so that memorandum of agreement is really what allows us to truly, you know, start to get underway with the partnership. And then there's some other steps which may bore you to tears. But when the time comes, I'm happy to, you know, walk you through, and so will our program manager for Interagency International Support Function as well. And we have already pre-coordinated with our division office and with their IIS team, and they approved, you know, of this engagement, and they know this work may potentially be coming, and so we're all in alignment. That we're here to serve if you need us.
So this letter goes to who?
I would send it to the committee.
So yeah, I can rub it over.
Yes, and we would happily help you draft it. Absolutely. If that is something you're interested in, we don't have to.
Absolutely.
I do like it goes to writing.
We're just here to serve.
I'll give you my electronic signature. No, kidding. Thank you. That, you know, I thank you for that offer because you can better you can better write it because you know exactly what to say, what to include, and
right. The one thing that I can't do for you though is bring your story.
Bring what?
Your story.
Oh,
your history, your passion, your care about the issue of your people. Right? I can try to channel that by everything I have felt and heard and know from visiting and working with you. But that letter really is, it's like your commercial, right, for why you need the help. And so that's where I might say, you like to comment back, why, like, so what, why now? You know, why us? Why is it so important?
Yeah.
You know, the world is just filled with needs, right? And we're all a bit overwhelmed. So I think it's really important to sort of bring that human piece to it and bring that into the letter, explain this.
I have a question, Governor. You know, when we initially engaged the Army Corps, and of course we had a couple folks from the Hawaii branch here, but the dominant lead was the folks from, I guess it's in the DC area, that had a particular expertise for healthcare or hospital financing. So my question to Lieutenant Colonel Marshall is, how does he see the Hawaii district playing a role here, given that I would assume that the lead expertise will be coming in from the district or from the Center of Excellence in the Army Corps office that has a particular focus on healthcare?
Thank you, sir. I don't know the answer directly, but Don's nodding along. Are you familiar with the source of funds and the agencies?
Not source of, you're referring to the Medical Center of Expertise, Brian, gentleman, Brian.
they came here.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so he was, we would always depend heavily on them.
On them.
Yeah, they do this, the geographic district, like the Honolulu district, is responsible for the project, however the extent of the project is. That our people would tend to look at things like geotech, the structural analysis, but the real medical specific things we bring them in for. So all the clinics and things like that, I bring them in. So.
I mentioned that because during the engagement with them, they openly solicited and offered to come on the ground at that point. So I was a little confused when Rhiannon was maybe Rhiannon was talking about, just I guess the letter that will initiate this next phase in the engagement. But I know that we have a knowledge pool already with the folks in the Center for Excellence that have basically, when they were here, stated how much they were looking forward to coming in and working with us in the planning process. So I guess, maybe your help trying to, refine what our approach and our ask is, and making sure that we count on the folks that have already been on the ground that now have a very specific focus on and view on what our needs are.
But I would think that they work with them, right?
I can guarantee they'll be here, sir. Yeah, I mean, I know my district, and I can tell you, I got the Dons and the Annans, but I don't have a medical center of excellence, so I will definitely bring them in. And we have a rough order of magnitude of what this would cost. That includes their travel out here. Rhiannon, you want to talk about that?
Sure. So when you talk from a business sense, Lieutenant Governor, so you engage your agreement with the local district in the area of responsibility. So our planning centers of excellence do not sign agreements with partners. So that is not one of their abilities. So from that business sense, to initiate the relationship financially, that happens with the local district. We always form a project delivery team, which is interdisciplinary and is staffed with the expertise that we need, whether we can get it from internal to the district, across the world of Army Corps employees, right, our 35,000 member staff that we have, which have expertise across all areas. And then if we can't get it from internal, we will go, out to contract if we need something particular that we can't get. Plus, we have our local partners, right, and all the amazing expertise that you bring, your contractors, and we bring all of that to bear on that project delivery team to meet the scope of work for the particular project and come out at the end, right, with our goal accomplished. So, and that is a standard no matter what kind of project we are working on, be it hospital, or our flood risk management project.
So we established the relationship with the Hawaii is what we said. Yeah. And then you guys bring in the Center of Excellence for Medical Center. When Josh was talking, I was thinking about the process that we went through to get the Army Corps of Engineers to come in. And actually all we did was we went to Hawaii and we were talking to, I think she was Lieutenant Colonel Sanborn. Yes. And asking her for her help. And then she either, got the Center of Excellence, but then they got the budget from the Army, from the funding source to bring the people in. And we got the funding source from, I think, the Department of Interior. Yes, we got that funding source to come in and do the assessment of the hospital.
Right. Yeah, and that is another way to access that, right? So the government of Guam can have a memorandum of agreement with us, and then we work directly for you. Or we already have a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Interior Office of Insular Affairs.
You already do.
Right. And then we make sub-work agreements off of that as they continue to ask us for different and new things all the time. And so that's another one.
Yes, and I'm actually thinking about that because that's a source of funding. We say to the Department of Interior, hey, we want the Army Corps of Engineers and we want you to fund it. So if they can get the funding and then they contract, and you already have a contract with them, that's another route. Yep. But regardless, right, we write you a letter.
If you're asking OIA to engage with us, then I would recommend you give that letter to OIA and you can copy it.
Okay, all right.
Right, it just depends on who the ask is for action. Right, if you're asking OIA for the action, to then engage us, then they will contact us and say, okay, you know, they'll contact our program manager for IIS, Charles Shears, and say, we want a new work agreement to assist Guam for this, and this. Yeah, so again, it just sort of depends on what you prefer. You know, which way, to us, it's, you know, the same either way.
Well, the money then would flow through OIA.
Right.
instead of-
Yes, right.
Instead of directly.
That's another source of value.
And what's the bottom line cost for charrette? How long is it just,
So I believe, and John told me the estimate right now is about 2.6 million, right, from A to Z for the charrette. And so, we would have to have funds on hand and be able to initiate team for preparation.
What is it, 2.5 million?
I think 2.6 million. Okay.
That would engage the center of expertise as well as medical. We have, what we would do is we bring in a medical specific architect engineer firm, somebody who has experience being hospitals.
Yeah, and you guys already work with some people, right? And I was telling the colonel that someone already approached us that already worked with you guys.
Yeah. So
we would use the quickest contracting vehicle possible to bring them on. That's called a MATOC, a multiple award task order contract. And so in order to get those going as soon as possible, we need to see which architectural engineering firms are on that already.
Have you already awarded your META? I thought I saw an RFP, but I didn't see an award. Is that?
We have a small business.
Actually, the medical design is run out of Princeton. So we would leverage them.
Leverage them.
They've got, we have 2, and they think they have a total of about 10 contractors on it. So it's pretty robust.
Okay,
There's other ones.
Joe.
Governor and sir, what about if we're asking assistance for one specific issue? And I'm not medical. For example, your expertise in the removal of a unit. So I know you have boots on the ground right now. You know, and you know that you have that. If we wanted to ask for assistance for just that particular issue, and it's not medical, although it does relate, you know, have federal funds that like that. Is that just one letter to
We actually have several work agreements for UXO, and that we had time was gonna sign something. We have other. It's not, this is area 101 and other areas in the law where we do UXO clearance. It's actually a separate program area that we can find this year. And we can talk offline, sir.
Absolutely. And I do know that you have statutory restrictions as to that time that the emissions were in there, you know, for the removal.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Are there no unexploded ordnance on the acres that you're getting?
The whole island was a war zone, and they've done a research in the battle from Ariola and all that, and that was a heavy battle area. You know, people come up to me and they say, well, you know, what if they find munitions in the property? My reaction to that is I hope so. I hope they find it and remove it so we get to the land. Otherwise, what are we gonna do? Just let it sit there? So, but it is that we've done our research on what happened before the war, during the war, and after the war, what they produced on that property. And because it was a battlefield, it was I'd ask a question, Lieutenant Marshal. You know, the Army Corps of Engineers is, you know, the road in front of the proposed site, it's called Route 15, but it's actually a military road. You know, that was built on that, and it was built by the 77th Army Infantry. They were known as the 77 Marines Company during the war. But I understand that they were building, you know, they weren't necessarily fighting, but that they were builders. And it's ironic, 77 Army Division, that road is named for the Army Division. They're now known as the 77 Sustaining Brigade, I think. And when I see the word sustaining, kind of like you know, the look on your engineers, they have something to that, you know. And so we do expect to find the issues, and like I said, I do hope so, because our research and the preparation. And by the way, just as a sidebar on that, any, you know, Desmond Doss?
Yes, yes.
Desmond Doss earned 2 bronze stars in Guam before earning his Medal of Honor as the only conscientious objector to hacksaw rig
I know his story. I didn't know he had his bronze stars long.
That was a crazy. Yeah. 2 bronze stars in Guam, and so he even right at that area. Thank you very much.
So I think you brought up a really good point. That's a very good question. You can add to the value that I'm sure that is some type of land clearance options. So, you know, if it falls into CERCLA, there might be some process. Coordinators has depth in CERCLA, so confidence to the project.
Yes, we know.
Well, you guys, of course, will know.
Yeah.
It could result in a time critical removal
Yes.
action, which would be probably advantageous to move along the process faster. So we would include that in the survey.
And we would need to look at potential contamination to groundwater. Especially getting a water plan, which might include drilling to access water locally on the site. You want to know what is any contaminants in that water. And if it is safe to use.
And right across the street is the headquarters from the Guam Water Works.
Okay.
All right, so we've got a plan now. We're going to write a letter to either DOI or you directly, depending on where we think the funds might be coming from. That's going to be an important decision, right? $2.6 million. Okay.
Right, and so if it's focused on that planning track, yes, that's what you would include in the letter. If you want it to be more broad in nature, then you can make, like, if you were coming to us directly, we just did this with the island of Hawaii and their county government. They want us to help from validating current studies all the way to turn over the project for operations and maintenance. For them, it's a levy project. And so we wrote the memorandum of agreement so that it could withstand that whole life cycle from A to Z. And then we will have sub work agreements for each phase. The first one for them is planning validation, and we're having a planning track. We love to do these. They're very effective. And so, you know, it depends again on your vision and what you want. And we're neutral to that. So when you've made your decision, then I can help you craft, you know, your letter and the agreement, if needed, right, to the appropriate approach. Yeah.
So Rhiannon, I want you to hook up with my, John, probably Ricky, huh?
Right.
What do you think?
Yep, or with our office and.
Yeah, so Ricky's our policy director, and she'd be the one, and she can also work with Rhiannon and her team, you know, if we need to tell the story, and even, behavioral health and veterans and all the key stakeholders. Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. We're at the passing grade. Okay, and what else? That's it, basically, right? For the planning, correct? Okay. And I would prefer from vision to the end. That would be my preference.
Well, that's what we would like to. Not that we have a real dog in the fight, so to speak, but, you know, I just think that we have value to offer at every stage. Design, construction, especially as overseeing the work, not the work, the constructors. You know, a lot of value, skill collections that we need. Not gonna catch everything in design, but the core really feel strongly that you start value in that stage.
Right.
So I just would like to offer that as well, as again pointed out, how you see us involved. With that.
Okay.
When you have a sample MOA.
I came prepared. Yeah, I have a draft of a memorandum of agreement. We worked very hard to coordinate all the way up through DC for Hawaii because we had a new law come into effect and a new policy September 2020. And so we had the first agreement in the country for IAF through this new policy guidance. So anyway, we have drafted it up very similar, but that MOA would match the government of Guam coming to us directly, wanting to use other Fed funds and whatever combinations, as long as it has some Fed funds in it, you know, to engage us directly. If you're coming through Office of Insular Affairs, we already have an MOA and we don't need a new one. So we're, you know, again, it sort of goes back to your, that key decision. And then if you do decide you want to come directly to us as our direct partner, yes, I have a draft MOA ready to share.
Okay. I feel great. Let's do it. You know, there's some concrete things we need to do. And we're gonna try and get it as quick as possible, so you guys can come quickly and do. So do you have time constraints? I mean, if I said, can you do it next month? Is that like able to be done?
In terms of agreeing, signing the MOA?
Yeah.
And I think we can sign that tomorrow, but we didn't have lawyers to deal with.
That's the key point.
Yeah, well, I put my legal people into it too.
But it will take some time. I think it's important for us to bring in 8 people on board to do a lot of the muscle, you know, the actual, technical stuff. And we have our center of expertise, but you don't want to, that takes about 4 months to do solicitation. So we can sign
You have
MOA.
to do solicitation.
We will have to solicit through that new topic.
Okay. It is quicker through the main hospital than versus
4
like
months.
4 of the conversation.
Cut that
It
out.
can be less if you. That's a good expectation.
It is our fiscal year end. So for example, our staff has already entered their labor all the way through September 30th. We can't take new work. We've already pre-charged and committed. So really October 1, and honestly, our financial system isn't open until about a week after the fiscal year or so. But if you can eke in quarter 1 before we get a budget, we can lock in resources for to commit to other things with money. Because when you show up with money, people's resource providers, their bosses, right, are like, yes, my person can absolutely work. So I do think it's a really great opportunity if we can get it going in our quarter 1.
Never heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, good. Anything else from anybody? How about anybody in the Zoom? Any questions? Okay. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be talking more about this, so thank you again for your time. And we'll be in touch. Should we want to do our?
3 minutes, that's point
Okay.
because you always have that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right, we have some questions.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, did you start?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, may I ask? Yes, hold on.
Yes.
I'm gonna channel our public affairs officer again.
We are
Can you take
too.
a group photo before we depart? Do you mind? I couldn't find your group photo, so I have to put them out and make sure. Right here. I need to check